AITA for asking my wife to accommodate my autistic friend's needs. My 34 meters good friend, 27 meters, is on the spectrum. I don't know if how I'm speaking about this will come across as offensive, but he's on the less severe side of things. He's verbal and can read social cues decently well. The only tells are his stims. He rocks almost constantly if he's sitting still. A few verbal stims, etc. And his aversion of a few sensory-related things. It's not something he shares with a lot of people. He got a diagnosis later in life since his parents just thought he was a weird kid while he was growing up. Him confiding in me about this didn't change anything between us. But some of the stories he has shared broke my heart a little and have made me feel more protective of him. Due to the AC going out in his apartment and not being able to be fixed for a few days, he came to stay with my wife and I. He can't sleep unless it's on silk sheets, so I ran out and bought some the day he asked to sleep over. I wanted him to be as comfortable as possible. Sensory issues aren't simple requests. They're genuine needs. My wife was already a little annoyed by that and pointed out I hadn't done that for any of our other guests. Then halfway through his second day with us, he pulled me aside and asked me to fix whatever smell was going on in the house. That it was hurting his head and really bothering him. After some investigation on our part, we figured out it was the perfume my wife was wearing. I politely asked my wife if she would go get changed, shower, so that my friend could enjoy dinner with us. She not only refused, but she tried kicking my friend out for being high maintenance. I put an end to that quickly. I realize she's not clued in on his needs. But he is a guest in our home all the same. His diagnosis is his to share, and his alone. I have refused to budge on any of the issues. According to an email he got, the AC in the building should be back up and running again tomorrow. My wife booked a hotel for the night and is insisting that one of them, either herself or my friend, go and stay there for the night. My friend is clearly distraught over this and I just can't send him off on his own when he's clearly upset after all that's happened. AITA? ETA. I bought the sheets instead of asking him to bring his from home because I wanted them for future use. This would allow any future guests to decide between the normal sheets and the silk ones. We never know who around us has sensory issues, or who might just want some nice sheets to sleep on for the night while they were guests in our home. I don't need to know the medical or diagnostic information of my guests in order to accommodate their needs. Edit 2. I get the picture and accept my judgment. Guys, can we please stop the bad autistic person stories going on in the top comment thread? Though? YTA, your wife can't accommodate needs that by the sound of this post she hasn't been clued in on. From her perspective, you have treated a friend to silk sheets and then told her she needs to shower before dinner and won't tell her why. My husband is on the spectrum. You don't need to give a full medical history to people to cue people in on basic needs. People will get it. Loop your wife in. So going forward, the two of you will be converting one of your spare rooms into an art studio? Oh no. I sense another art room for Ben. You are going overboard. Help him, yes. Within reason. Her home is her safe space. Did you even consult your wife before inviting him to stay? YTA. You're making unreasonable requests given that she does not know about his diagnosis. To her, he's just a super fussy, high-maintenance guest that's making her feel uncomfortable in her own home, and you are choosing to prioritize him over her. YTAI was solidly in the other camp until I realized your wife doesn't know about your friend's autism. You're right that sensory issues aren't preferences. But she has no idea he has them. From her perspective, there's a high-maintenance stranger staying in her house asking for all these accommodations. You aren't even giving her a chance to be truly understanding because she doesn't have the whole picture. Yes, it's his call to share, so did you talk to your friend about sharing his diagnosis with your wife? If I understood all of this correctly, you expected your wife to accommodate your friend's needs without telling her why accommodation was needed. If so, your communication with your wife is lacking in YTA. YTA. From her perspective, you asked for your weird friend to stay. You said he comes across as slightly weird if you don't know about his diagnosis. And he starts demanding expensive changes and exhibiting creeper behavior by dictating what your wife can wear in your own home. As far as she's concerned, she's stuck with a creep who may or may not be safe, and she may have to leave her home because she doesn't know what's really going on. It could be he has deep-seated misogyny or religious beliefs about controlling women as far as she knows, and she's probably wondering if you agree with those beliefs. It all could have been avoided with communication. 1. You tell him you will speak to your wife, but you need to disclose he may have further needs. If he disagrees, you say no because you married your wife, not him. So you put her well-being first. You might not have to explain the full diagnosis, just the needs. She may have even been sympathetic and helpful. 2. If you got the go-ahead, then you ask your friend what his additional needs are and take your wife through them as to whether they can be accommodated. If there are hard, no, responses that cannot be worked around, then you tell your friend and he knows if he chooses to stay anyway, it's his choice. 3. He provides equipment to accommodate his needs. You going out to purchase a luxury item is going to look really weird. Even with the explanation, is he moving in? Is my husband desperate to impress him, and why? 4. You come up with a communication plan for further issues whilst he is there. Why would you not explain this to your wife? That makes no sense. Your friend doesn't ever have to know. And all you had to say was he's autistic and may have some special requests or needs. If you were my husband, and you let me treat a guest poorly because I was not aware of his mental health needs, I would be insanely embarrassed and furious with you. YTA. You should apologize to your friends also, on behalf of your wife, and explain your wife didn't understand his needs and that you are an idiot for not clearing these requests with her first. After reading your other links where you admit to having an emotional affair with this same friend, and saying you don't love your wife, YTA, and I don't understand why you are still married. This isn't about helping his sensory issues. This is about you and him essentially being in a relationship and him coming in and bossing around your wife. You're low. YTA. I have autism with sensory issues to smells and texture as well. If someone is kind enough to host me but I am not comfortable sharing my diagnosis, then it's my job to get a hotel. If your wife was aware of his autism and still wouldn't budge, it may be more like ESH. But for now, in her eyes, her husband is choosing a high-maintenance friend over his wife. A loving YTA. As a late-diagnosed autistic adult, I am 100% here for the energy you're bringing to your friendship. But your wife needs to be in the know. From her perspective, this is just you rolling out the red carpet for a friend. In her home. At her expense. With no explanation. I would assume her complaints are meant with a decent amount of holier-than-thou as well. Your heart's in the right place, but I never expect to be placed above someone else in this way. Your friend is upset that he's being a social burden. A deeply triggering issue for many of us. It's in everyone's best interest to be honest. YTA. He is a full-grown adult with his own apartment. If he needs silk sheets, he can remember to bring them. If he is having a reaction to your wife's perfume, He can politely explain and ask that she either not wear it or excuse him for avoiding her in her own home. His needs are real, but they are not an excuse to impose on other unduly. At this point, he is responsible for managing his own needs. He's entitled not to share. However, he's not entitled to be shielded from the consequences of not sharing. If she's not aware of the situation, how can she be at fault for not accommodating it? YTA. The correct answer here is to tell the friend, look, either you gotta tell her what's going, or we have to respect her wishes. YTA. Does his comfort have to come at the cost of your wife's comfort? Him staying at the hotel actually seems like a sensible solution, and they frequently have silk sheets. YTA for not telling your wife. Simple as that. If your friend doesn't want to share his diagnosis with her, then he should get a room in a hotel. YTA just for not telling her. If you had communicated with her, this would be a totally different story. If he wasn't comfy with sharing, a hotel was the next best option. Keeping your partner in the dark was an move. YTA. After a reread of your post, you come off as trying to be saviorish while leaving your wife clueless and thus ripe for her being the if my husband started changing things in our house and demanding that I shower before eating BC of my perfume, then I would start questioning just WTF is he doing? You're not treating your wife as a partner. You're leaving her out and expecting her to just know when you nor your friend will say just why. These accommodations are needed. I say needed in quotations. BC the sheets could have been brought from his place if he needed them. Even the perfume thing would have gotten a "I'm so sorry, but I'm allergic to perfumes" from someone who has a perfume allergy. You and your friend are off for expecting her to just know and do whatever to accommodate him, without explaining to her just why these things are issues. You and your friend suck at communicating. Autism isn't a dirty secret. Your wife is missing vital information, and I don't blame her at all for her reaction given the circumstances. Can you ask your friend if it's okay to explain what's going on to her? Info. Did you discuss the invitation with your wife before you extended it? And did this discussion include a heads up that his stay might include some additional requests, expenses?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.